following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome to Gab About God. I am Reverend Dr. Lori Wiley, the pastor of Litchfield Community Church, and with me is Jacob McQueston, and we're going to be talking today about what about evil? So, Jacob, what's your first question?
Well, I have a little surprise for you.
Uh-oh.
At the end of our last conversation, we were talking about where do we decide to drive on the right side of the road?
Okay.
So I had to Google that, and I learned. But it had to do with swords and riding horseback. When you would ride down the road, your scabbard would be on your left. And to avoid hitting people on the opposite side, you would ride on the left side. And that was a British thing. Now, when we finally gained our independence in the Americas, we pretty much cut off everything we could think of that had to do with Britain. So we decided to start driving on the right.
Okay.
But that's where that came from as a follow-up.
Thank you. And we talked about the underlying issue wasn't so much which side of the road you drive on, but showing respect and safety to others, which should be a universal value in every country, no matter what side of the road you drive on.
Exactly.
So, thank you, Jacob.
But as the follow-up, there we go.
Yes, thank you.
So back to evil and the real purpose of this recording. My question was, why does God allow so much hatred, evil, and just bad? Here is the father figure that we look at for comfort. As I said before, the emotional blanket. How could one allow such horrible things? Things that aren't even man-made.
Mm-hmm.
I understood the reason for free will. So with free will, people would do bad things, but there are horrendous creatures that will infect the body. Eat you from the inside out, and these things are just terrible. Why is that kind of evil allowed? Human evil, I understand being allowed because of free will, but these things that have nothing to do with humans, how does that kind of bad?
Well, that is one of the facets of evil that we try to understand. We can't say that we're going to understand every part of it any more than we understand every part of God, because it's about a world that's way above and beyond us. So let's start with, is there such a thing as evil? That's where I would start. And we find that 99% of the people in the world, even those who don't believe in God, do believe that there's such a thing as evil, especially the things that you have mentioned. So we see evil as the opposite of good. We also see it as anti-God or anti-Christ. And we sometimes put a name. The Bible has quite a few names for evil, the evil one.
Yeah.
But evil can be found in 3 different places, and I hope we can find the right niche for this to answer your question. So the first is that we know that there is an evil one who came out of heaven. And I have the Bible verses here. I'm not going to read them all, but this is what it says in Ezekiel. about Satan, the evil one. You were the perfection of wisdom and beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Your clothing was adorned with every precious stone, red carnelian, chrysolite, white moonstone, beryl, onyx, and jasper. So the Bible tells us that the evil one was originally good. And then he got proud in heaven, and he wanted to be greater than God. That's in Isaiah. And God threw him out of heaven. And he came down to this earth, beginning in the Garden of Eden, and has made all kinds of awful things happen ever since then. So it wouldn't be wrong to attribute a lot of these awful things you've mentioned, Jacob, to the evil one. He's terrible. He's awful. Unfortunately, he disguises himself as good. So for Eve, she thought, oh, well, he's really a cute little thing. He's got good advice for me. And she got in trouble over that. And there are people today who are doing these terrible things, but they have been deceived, and that's one of the names for Satan. They have been deceived. He disguised himself as being something or someone good. So you could attribute some of these horrible things to the evil one in our world. Now, your next question is going to be, why did God allow him, right?
Yes. My other thought was the common belief is that God is perfect and all-knowing.
Right.
I have a problem with that idea because, in my understanding, God created the heavens and the earth. So he created the heavens. None of the angels or Lucifer existed before he created them. Now, if everything's so perfect, how does one become so evil? And my idea is that Lucifer or Satan does not create evil. He was created by God, and therefore God created evil.
No.
Well, and that's where I disagree with that, because it came from somewhere. The creation is said to be from God himself. And so having a plan and knowing that these things would happen, either he didn't know it was going to happen and it happened anyways, or he did know it was going to happen and he allowed it. And so I don't understand. I truly believe that God allowed all these bad things to happen, and I want to understand why. I'm not holding it against anybody, certainly not God. Who am I to hold anything against God? But he let it happen, and I want to know why people think that is a good thing.
Why would a good God?
Yes, why would a good God let bad
I'm
things
glad
happen?
you changed a little bit from why did God create evil, because God did not create evil. Then you changed it to why did God allow evil?
Okay.
And that is an appropriate question to ask, because he did allow it. So I will read you just a little bit from Isaiah about Satan. How you are fallen from heaven, O shining star, son of the morning. You have been thrown down to the earth, you who destroyed the nations of the world. For you said to yourself, I will ascend to heaven and set my throne above God's stars. I will preside on the mountain of the gods, far away in the north. I will climb to the highest heavens and be like the Most High. But instead you will be brought down to the place of the dead, down to its lowest depths. Everyone there will stare at you and ask, can this be the one who shook the earth and the kingdoms of the world? Is this the one who destroyed the world and made it into a wilderness? Is this the king who demolished the world's greatest cities and had no mercy on his prisoners? So for some reason that we may never know, God allowed Satan to have some freedom, and he took that freedom and he made it pride that he was going to be greater than God. And so he took over in some parts of our world. So that's part of the evil, but it's not all. That's only 1/3 of it.
Yeah.
Okay? The other third is that our human nature, God gave us, as you had said, the freedom of will. And there's no freedom if there's only good. I mean, how do you get to choose between good and good? So he allowed Satan to come to our planet and as the evil one so that we would make good choices. And every human being has within us the ability to choose, and also we have the temptation to do what's wrong. Everybody is tempted. Every single human being is facing temptations of a moral nature. Am I going to do what's right, or am I going to do what's wrong? And in many cases, we choose what's wrong. So that's the part that is human. And then the third kind of evil is that of our world order. In some way, Satan infected the systems of our world. So you look at the financial empire and you say, wow, there's so much corruption through greed, people making lots and lots of money off poor people. And you look at the medical empire and you say, wait a minute, are they really there about healing people, or are they there about making money? Because they have some very strange requirements that don't sound like they're about healing. And you look at the education system and you say, well, they're meant to educate, but are they educating children, students to be good, or are they just educating them to be smart? Smart is not enough. In the German Nazi Empire, they had the smartest people in the world doing the most awful things.
Yeah,
so you have so it's three things. We call it the world, the flesh, and the devil. So the world order,
yeah.
the flesh, meaning us and our temptations to do things we shouldn't do, and Satan. And those are the three sources of evil in our world. One thing we could ask is, what do you think is stronger, good or evil?
Which one is stronger? Well, that's a pretty tough question. I'm not sure I could say that either one of them is stronger.
You think they're equal?
I would say they're fairly equal, but the human entity of it likes to go towards evil because it usually drives our want, our greed, and greed for anything, not just money, but pleasure, whether it be drugs or other things. But I think that good and evil are both very strong because a lot of people I know, most people I know, do good for their neighbor. Why do they do that? I don't get anything from shoveling my neighbor's driveway. So why do I do it? Because it's good. And you have a sense of accomplishment, which is good, which we all feel. And I think that goes actually back to our law of morality in the past one. But
okay.
I was going to say, I don't think that either one is stronger. It's just some of them are more prevalent when faced in this society. If somebody does you wrong, you don't forget about it. But if somebody loans you money for, okay, maybe I can't make my car payment. Hey, can I borrow the money for that this month? As soon as they do you wrong, you're not going to forget. And I don't think that is a good indication of which one's stronger. It's just we as humans feel stronger about evil than we do good.
Okay. So there's two things I want to address there that you said. First, there's the Eastern religion that believes in the yin and the yang, and good and evil are equal. That is not the Christian belief. We know that God is far stronger than Satan. So when I'm working with my theology students, I draw a big circle and I say, this is God. And then I draw a teeny tiny circle and I say, and this is Satan. this is evil. So we believe that God is far, far superior and stronger and more powerful than any evil in this world. Okay? Second, did you want to address that?
I did want to address that. And
Okay.
the reason I would disagree with that is because if evil was so much weaker, it wouldn't be seen as much. It would not be nearly as prevalent. And now, the other question is, why does God not just smite evil out of the world? The wrath of God was seen in, I can't remember the name of it now.
A movie?
Noah's Ark.
Noah's Ark.
Noah's Ark is a perfect example of his wrath on humans, cleansing the earth,
Okay.
restarting. Why not do the same with evil if it's so much weaker? And I feel like it's because he can't. Yes,
God can't?
Truly cannot, because I still believe that God created the evil. I mean, when there was nothing and now there's something, it had to be created. We talked about that last time as well. It had to come from somewhere. Now, either Lucifer is as strong as God in creating, which means he created evil, like God created good, or God created that evil and put it in him somehow. Now, I don't know how, I don't know why, but that's why we're talking about why evil. Why does evil exist? I have no idea.
But evil, first of all, you said created evil. There's nothing creative about evil. It's only destructive.
True, but it was created.
No.
It had to have. We said that in the beginning there was nothing, and we said we can't really
Right.
comprehend that, but we're going to
Right.
accept that there was nothing, and God created everything.
Yeah.
So before God created anything, there couldn't have been evil. God
Right.
put his hands around
Right.
the nothing that was there and said, "You are created."
And God gave some choice to this evil one up in heaven who was an angel, some choice, and so the evil one twisted good. Evil is twisted good.
But what I would like to say is, you said there cannot be choice between good and good. There's
Right.
only choice between good and evil.
Right.
So he had to have the choice between good and evil. Otherwise, he didn't have a choice.
He took what was good and he twisted it to make it bad.
Okay, so I see that as Lucifer as being almost equal to, in power to God, as he is able to take what God has created and change it into something else. He is able to take God's work and twist it into the very bad that it is. I'm not trying to defend,
Right,
the
right.
evil side of things.
Right. Well,
But that's what it seems to be as a almost not mathematical, but almost mathematical point where, the all powerful being God is able to take have his work twisted by one of his inferiors.
Is willing to allow, is the way I would say it.
Maybe he's able to allow it, but it
In
happens.
the end, the Bible makes it clear that all evil will be destroyed. There's a place for it, and it's all going there.
I certainly hope so too. That would be
Yeah.
a great thing to see.
Right. So he allowed it, and I wanted to mention when you said about people, are we intrinsically good or are we intrinsically evil? And you had said evil, and I want to say both. Can I tell you why it's both?
Sure.
Because God created us in his image. So every person, you have a part of God in you that is unique to you. There's nobody else quite like you or me because God created us. But we fell. And so we all have a fallen human nature. Calvinists call it total depravity. So we have this thing within us that we want to do what's right, but we kind of don't want to. We're tempted, but we try to overcome. And so we have Always we have the war going on within us between good and evil, and the war of the world between good and evil. And Satan wants you to think that evil is winning, but he's blinding our eyes. Good is winning. God always wins.
I truly believe that too. I really think that God comes out on top in things, but does not mean that Satan's not putting up a good fight.
That's the truth.
And I don't like that, but I think that's a cold hard fact that we have to fight, even not being necessarily Christian or not. I fight that battle.
Yeah, we all do.
I mean, and I think that that's also a point that we don't necessarily always need to have God right there to tell you that you need to do good, because we have it. I believe we have it built in. You say that built-in good came from God, and maybe it did, but.
And we're in just my final thing is, we are in a cosmic war between good and evil. You hear about the Salvation Army. Well, there's a reason they're called the Army, because they understand that evil is out there and God wants us to be soldiers that fight it. So to recognize that the battle is going on between good and evil all the time, but we know the outcome because it tells us in the Bible that God will win and evil will be put in its proper place.
I certainly hope so.
Your last words?
I just want to say I really enjoy this. I'm learning a lot as we go, and I hope that this broadcast does well for those who view it. So there we go.
Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you.
God bless.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.